Retro Road Test, Suzuki Samurai vs Lada Niva, 1990 UK specs. Featuring mud, tea, and a sheep that won't move. It's a damp Saturday morning in Shropshire, circa 1990. A sky the colour of cold porridge hangs overhead, the fields are sodden, and the local sheep look unimpressed at everything. Perfect weather, then, to compare two of the cheapest off-roaders you could actually buy in Britain, the Suzuki Samurai and the Lada Niva. We've borrowed both for the day, roped in a mate with a thermos of tea, and found a field so muddy that even the sheep have decided to stick to the hedgerows. This will be less about motorway cruising and more about who can avoid getting stuck first, and whose heater fogs the windows least quickly. The arrival. The Samurai arrives first, buzzing up the lane like a wasp in a biscuit tin. It's red, boxy, and small enough that it looks like it should be wearing Tonka decals. It bounces into the farmyard and parks at an angle so jaunty it could star in a children's TV show. Its driver hops out looking smug, as if to say, "Look how fun my life is in this toy-sized 4x4. The Niva rumbles up shortly after, in a shade of Soviet green that could hide a tank battalion. It sounds gruffer, chunkier, and when it pulls up next to the Samurai it's like a Soviet wrestler standing beside a Japanese gymnast. Both are compact compared to a Land Rover, but the Lada definitely has more presence. The farmer who's lent us the field gives them both a long look, sucks his teeth, and mutters, "Never trusted anything Russian or Japanese. Now, a Land Rover, that's a proper motor." He then wanders off to check on his sheep, leaving us with the vague feeling we're about to prove him right. Getting acquainted. Climbing into the Samurai is like squeezing into a phone box. You sit bolt upright, knees close to the wheel, and the dashboard greets you with all the charm of a 1980s transistor radio. The gear lever feels light and playful, the handbrake looks like it belongs on a child's pushchair, and the heater has two settings, off and makes a noise but no heat. The Niva is a very different prospect. The door shuts with the sound of recycled tank steel meeting indifference. Inside, it's grey. Just grey. The plastics, the dials, even the seat fabric, all shades of Soviet concrete. The seats are flat, the gear lever is long enough to row a boat, and the steering wheel looks like it came off a Minsk city bus. But compared to the Suzuki, it does feel more substantial. More car than toy. On the road to the field. On the lane to the field, the Suzuki darts along like an excitable terrier. It changes direction quickly, buzzes happily in second and third gear, and generally makes you grin despite the lack of power. But once you hit 50 miles per hour, the grin fades as the steering goes vague and every bump threatens to throw you into the hedge. The Lada, meanwhile, lumbers along more sedately. It feels heavier, slower to respond, and the gearbox is vague enough that third could also be fifth if you're not paying attention. But it feels planted, steady, and far less likely to end up in the ditch. Neither is refined. The Samurai rattles, the Niva drones, but both at least feel alive in their own ways. Then we turn into the field, and the fun really begins. Off-road, the muddy truth. The Samurai is first into the mud. Low range engaged, it bounces into the field like a rabbit on espresso. The lack of weight is astonishing. It just skips across the surface where you'd expect it to bob down. Through ruts and puddles, it scampers along cheerfully. It even manages to climb a muddy bank with ease, provided you give it a good run up and plenty of revs. It's like driving a dog that's constantly wagging its tail. Then the Niva has a go. Where the Suzuki dances, the Lada trundles. Permanent four-wheel drive digs in, the suspension flexes like a yoga instructor, and it simply hauls itself forward with grim determination. It doesn't feel quick or agile, but it doesn't stop either. Over ruts, through puddles, up the bank the Niva just keeps going. It feels unstoppable, like it could crush the samurai without even noticing. At one point, we deliberately bog both down in a deep patch of sludge. The samurai wriggles, spins its wheels, and eventually hops free with a bit of clutch abuse. The Niva just growls, digs in, and walks out as if to say, "Was that supposed to be difficult?" The farmer, watching from the gate, grudgingly admits, "Not bad, for toys." Tea break debate. By now we're cold, wet, and covered in mud. Time for tea. We lean against the Lada, sipping from the thermos, and have the inevitable argument. Samurai camp, it's fun, it's light, it's cheap to run. It's basically a mountain goat on wheels. Who needs a defender when this will do the same job for half the price? Niva camp, yeah, but look at the space. Look at the torque. It's got proper 4WD, not just part-time. And if you need to tow, or carry more than one sack of potatoes, the Suzuki's had it. The sheep, still unimpressed, continue to stare. Practical matters. We try the boot test. The samurai's boot is small enough that you'd struggle to fit a week's worth of shopping unless you were dieting. Fold the rear seats and you can just about fit a bale of hay or a large dog, provided neither moves around too much. The Niva swallows far more. It's still not huge, but the hatchback design makes it usable. You could chuck in tools, feed bags, or even a goat if you weren't too fussy. For farm life, it's far more practical. Fuel-wise, the Samurai should get mid-30s miles per gallon, while the Niva is closer to 25. Neither is ruinous, but the Suzuki clearly wins on efficiency. On reliability, the Suzuki is also safer, Japanese engineering versus Russian improvisation. That said, the Niva's simplicity means that even if something breaks, a hammer and a swear word might fix it. The verdict, over the last biscuit. By the time the thermos is empty and the last biscuit has gone soggy, we've reached a conclusion. The Suzuki Samurai is the off-road equivalent of a Terrier, small, noisy, occasionally out of its depth, but endlessly enthusiastic and surprisingly effective. If you want cheap fun and don't need to carry much, it's brilliant. The Lada Niva is more like a bear, big, gruff, unstoppable, and slightly terrifying if you upset it. It's heavier, less frugal, but ultimately more practical and more capable when the going gets truly grim. Which one wins? Depends on your field. If it's a muddy corner of Shropshire, the Samurai will do you proud. If it's a track somewhere in Siberia, only the Niva will get you home alive. As we leave, the farmer shakes his head. Still prefer me Land Rover, he says. Some things never change. Retro road test, Suzuki Samurai vs Lada Niva, 1990 UK specs.